Welcome to the channel. Today's story isn't just about rules, it's about power, betrayal, and the kind of quiet revenge that leaves a mark. You won't believe what this HOA tried to pull, or how it all came crashing down. They wanted silence. He gave them headlines, hashtags, and a waiting list of angry reporters. I'm Nicole, and if you've ever dealt with an HOA that went too far, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because trust me, these stories only get crazier. Now let's get started. The first Sunday after moving in, Josh woke up early. He wanted to catch the sunrise over the low, rolling hills that cradled Beacon Ridge Estates. But somewhere nearby, a leaf blower was already warbling its way through the soft morning. Most people would have grumbled. Josh just smiled to himself, thinking, "At least I'm home." Boxes still crowded the foyer. Emma, his wife, had already started making labels for each room, taping paper to every box in blue marker. Their daughter Dani wandered barefoot, clutching her stuffed otter, eyes wide at every tiny discovery. The way the sunlight spilled through the stained glass window above the door. The way the stairs creaked just right when she bounced down them two at a time. From the street, Beacon Ridge looked perfect, almost surgically perfect. Manicured lawns, white-trimmed fences. At 9 a.m. sharp, a man in pressed khakis and a hunter green polo strolled up their drive, clipboard in hand. At his feet, a tiny Scottish terrier pranced like it had somewhere else to be. "Josh Fleming?" the man called, hand hovering just above Josh's mailbox. "I'm Martin. I'm the HOA president for this community. You're the one who bought 312 Crestline, right?" Josh wiped his hands on his shorts, nodding. "That's us. Sorry for the mess. Moving day, you know." "Of course." Martin grinned, teeth precise, purposeful. "We all love a new neighbor. Just want to welcome you and leave you with a packet. Rules, schedules, that kind of thing. We take pride in keeping this neighborhood safe, clean, and, well, exceptional." "Rules." Something behind Martin's words prickled the hairs on Josh's arms. He took the thick folder, weighed it in his hand. Inside, the print was small and dense. No weeds longer than 2 inches. Garage doors must be closed except for direct use. No vehicles. Other than standard passenger cars parked overnight in driveways. Josh felt a tightness in his chest as he flipped the pages. More than 2 pets required written approval. Paint colors were controlled. Holiday decorations must be taken down within 2 weeks of the respective holiday. The list went on like a hymn, relentless and suffocating. Emma stepped out, her smile sunshine itself. "Morning, Martin. Can I get you something? Water, coffee?" "Oh, thank you, no, I won't stay, but remember, your first HOA meeting is Tuesday at 7. We'd love to have you join. Everyone's expected to attend. It's a great way to meet your neighbors." Martin's dog barked once, sharp, as if to underline his owner's words, and then they were gone. Josh shut the door and leaned against it, folder in hand. The house was silent except for the hum of Dani's cartoons. He felt watched, judged, already behind. It wasn't the welcome he'd hoped for. "You okay?" Emma whispered, touching his shoulder. He nodded, forcing a smile, watching her tuck Dani's wild hair behind her ear. "Yeah, just tired, I guess. It's nothing." But when he opened the folder again that night, alone, the boxes slumping around him, he circled one line in red pen. "No home-based businesses without written board approval." He ran his thumb over the words, feeling the unspoken threat that sat beneath the plastic of that cheap folder. In the distance, outside somewhere he couldn't see, a door slammed. A car alarm chirped. For a moment, Josh felt unbearably exposed, as if every window in the house was staring out at him, and something was always taking notes. What he didn't see, the way Martin glanced back over his shoulder as he left, the thin smile before he vanished around the hedge, or the way the board later that evening would mention, almost as an afterthought, "The new guy looks like he'll need some extra monitoring." There was something odd about the tone in that meeting, not so much neighborly as hungry. Josh looked at the packet's last page. Violations will be met with fines up to $150.00 per day or legal action if unresolved. He set it down very gently, hands careful, as though the paper itself could burn. Outside, the wind shifted, picking up the corners of a for sale sign 3 houses down. The house at 318 Crestline looked empty except for a light forever burning in the hallway. Josh wondered about the people who lived here before him and why they'd left. He didn't notice yet the camera mounted high on the streetlight outside, its red light winking quietly in the night. Tuesday came sooner than any of them wanted. Josh wore a clean shirt, the one without the old paint splotches near the hem, but still felt out of place as he juggled a plate of brownies to the HOA meeting. Emma, poised and sunny, balanced Danny on her hip, while Danny clutched her otter like it was a lifeline. The community clubhouse was at the end of Forest Lane, nestled between a pocket park and the tennis courts. The walkway was lined with hydrangeas, clipped back so perfectly they looked fake. Bushes trimmed to symmetrical cubes, porch lights flickering in unison, all set to matching timers. Inside, the air was humid with the faint smell of lemon cleaner and coffee. There was a spread of Costco sandwiches on a folding table, matching plastic chairs arranged in a half moon. Name tags waited in a neat row, laughter clung in the corners, but when Josh and Emma walked in, there was a subtle, collective hush. Eyes flicked, then away, measured glances. The HOA board sat at a long table. Martin was at the center, flanked by 2 women, Monica, the treasurer, and Celeste, the secretary. Both wore tailored jackets, every strand of hair in place. "Let's get started," Martin smiled. Josh sat beside Emma, feeling the chill of eyes on his back. He searched the faces around, retirees in pastel cardigans, young couples with identical Fitbits, a handful of sullen teenagers hunched over their phones. The whole room pulsed with a quiet, expectant energy. Monica began reading the minutes. Words like variance, denied, aesthetic standards, and quarterly dues increase tumbled out, scraping up Josh's nerves. When the board opened the floor for questions, a woman named Peggy with a clipped New England accent raised her hand. "What about the blue mailbox on Sunrise? It's against code. Somebody should fix that." A low, affirmative murmur. Martin turned, scanning the new faces. "Any new business?" Josh swallowed. He hadn't meant to speak, but the words tumbled out. "I noticed the play structure at the park needs repairs. Splinters everywhere. Kids avoid it." Monica blinked. "We've submitted a request. Budget's tight, but we'll see." For a moment, Josh thought the matter was finished, but then Celeste smiled with a dollhouse prettiness. "And just a gentle reminder, our covenants are for everyone's benefit. It's the little things that keep our community elevated." She looked at Josh, eyes lingering. At the end, Martin made everyone sign a sheet. "Acknowledgement of the rules. Mandatory yearly," he explained, guiding the pen into Josh's hand. Josh read over the page, the lines blurring. Enforcement is non-negotiable. Fines, suspensions, arbitration. So many threats, hiding inside the polite words. Afterwards, as they left, Danny whispered, "Why do they all talk so weird?" Emma only hugged her tighter. Behind them, the clubhouse lights flickered, then snapped off in unison, plunging the path in sudden shadow. On the walk home, Josh felt like he'd failed some unknown test. He looked back, watching for movement behind the hedges. The houses glared blankly through shuttered windows. The plate of brownies had barely been touched. Emma squeezed his hand, talking softly about how everyone just needs time. But Josh heard the conversations, hushed behind closed doors. Back at home, a slip of paper was wedged deep in the mailbox. Josh unfolded it. A violation warning. An approved moving van parked in driveway overnight. Please remit $50, 0 cents fine within 7 days. But their van had been gone hours before midnight. Josh felt the bottom drop out. The note wasn't a mistake. It was only the first shot. That night, he dreamt of doors that wouldn't open and cameras that followed each move. Just before dawn, he woke to the sound of a lock, a soft metallic click outside his window. He wasn't sure if he'd imagined it. And out on Crestline, beyond the hedges, a whisper lingered in the dark. Josh's mood soured by the next morning. The violation warning sat on the kitchen counter, glaring up with its accusatory font. He stared at it over coffee, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, trying to figure out what to do. Emma tried to be optimistic, murmuring encouragements while scooping Danny's Cheerios into her bowl. Probably just a computer glitch. I'm sure when you call, they'll fix it. But when Josh reached the HOA office, the woman on the other end sounded downright condescending. We have photographic evidence, Mr. Fleming. Rules are clear. Payment due by Friday or it escalates. Josh's temper flared, but he swallowed it. No one wants to be that neighbor, especially not a week into a new life. He hung up and slid the bill into a drawer, trying to let it go, but begrudging thoughts pried at him. Was this how it started for everyone? A warning for nothing, then another, and another? The air outside tasted like freshly cut grass and fertilizer. Someone nearby must have fertilized for the second time this week, just to keep the lawn chart-topping green. Josh walked Danny to the park, but as soon as they reached the playground fence, two moms in tennis skirts visibly turned away, voices dipping to ridiculed whispers. Another one, they never read the bylaws before they move in. Was that about him? Josh glanced down at his shoes, suddenly unsure of everything. The way his shirt hung, the brand of granola bars in Danny's backpack. He forced a smile. Want to swing, Dee? But Danny tugged his sleeve, eyes fixed on the sandbox. That boy is crying. Near the rusty slide, a small boy in checkered shorts wept quietly. No parent nearby. Josh crouched, gently asking, "What's wrong, buddy?" The boy hiccuped. "My mom says we can't come here because the playground is bad. The wood is all scratchy." Josh's jaw tightened. "It'll get fixed, okay? I promise." But inside, he doubted. There was something tightly wound and strange about the way everyone tiptoed around problems, like no one wanted to upset the machinery. Back home, another slip was tucked in the door. This one. Trim hedge below 3 feet, second notice. Josh stared at the hedge, not even waist high. He measured it with a tape. 32 inches. He called Martin, who answered on the first ring. "I measured, Martin. The hedge isn't even 3 feet. Martin's pause was syrupy. "It's about the sightline, Josh. Sometimes we measure from the mulch. Just keep it lower to be safe." Every word was slippery, just vague enough that you could never quite win. Josh paced the living room, fuming. Emma watched him, worry blooming behind her eyes. "Is it worth fighting?" she whispered, glancing at Danny, who was drawing a sun on the wall with yellow marker. He didn't answer. That night, he searched online. HOA harassment, what to do. Results spilled out. Horror stories. Endless legalese. Petitions gone nowhere. Anonymous posts warning, never fight them head on. Document everything. Be careful who you trust. Josh started a file on his laptop. Beacon Ridge. Issues. He snapped a picture of the violation notices, then the hedge, then the mailbox. Each photo a tiny shield against the slow, invisible war unfurling just outside their windows. But as he lay awake, listening to the hum of the fridge and the distant bark of Martin's terrier, Josh realized something. He wasn't afraid, not really. He was angry. And anger, he knew, was a fuel that burned slow and bright. From his office, he could see the street lamp camera blinking. For the first time, he wondered who exactly was watching and why. Across the street, A pair of eyes lingered from behind the curtains at 318 Crestline. Josh's night was thick with unasked questions. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but somehow he knew. This was only the beginning. On a rainy Friday, the real trouble began. Josh stepped outside, shielding his eyes with a hand, only to spot two new violation slips tucked into the mailbox, one for improperly coiled hose, the other for off-colored driveway sweeping residue. He stared, jaw dropping. He dragged the hose into perfect spirals, then bent to examine the drive. There, faint as a bruise, were gray marks where he'd swept up pollen days prior. Down the sidewalk, two retirees in matching windbreakers passed by, slowing almost imperceptibly as they glanced at his driveway. "They're really coming after you, huh?" a voice murmured behind him. Josh spun and found a neighbor, Sam, mid-40s, glasses, cautious smile, hugging a grocery sack. "He might do this?" Josh asked, half in disbelief, half desperate for a connection. Sam shrugged. "Target one person, make an example. People fall in line after that. My first year, they fined me for a patio umbrella. I stopped fighting." Josh frowned. "Nothing about this seems right. What if everyone said something?" Sam's eyes slid away. "People talk about moving, but no one wants a fight, and no one wants the fines." Inside, Emma knelt by the couch, her voice small. "They sent me a warning at work about our mailbox color. How did they even find my email?" Josh stared. "They're tracking us?" Emma bit her lip, her optimism finally cracking. "I'm scared, Josh." Danny looked up with wide eyes. "Are we in trouble?" Josh knelt, gathering Danny into his arms. "No, honey, we're not. And I won't let anyone hurt us." He paced the kitchen, mind spinning. He rechecked the rules. Most violations were intentionally vague. In private Facebook groups, parents gossiped about fines, about board favoritism, about the mysterious departure of several families. No one used names. His file bulged. More pictures, screenshots, timestamps, copies of each warning slip. At night, headlights crept slow and deliberate past their house. 2 cars in a row, engines idling. Josh jotted plates. A chill pressed against his neck every time he glimpsed the mailbox. Every small task, watering a plant, walking Danny to the bus, felt like it happened beneath a microscope. He called the county's housing office, asking about their rights, but was told, "Unless it's discrimination, association bylaws stand. You signed when you moved in." Frustration built. Josh slammed a cabinet shut, rattling plates. But somewhere in the storm of his fury, an idea began to take shape. If they were being watched, maybe there were cracks in the machine. Maybe, just maybe, someone had left a door unlocked. As rain lashed the windows, he scrolled through endless forum threads and legal digests, searching for one thing he hadn't seen before: a way in. In the mailbox, amidst flyers and coupons, a new slip. "Lien will be issued for non-payment." Josh's fingers shook as he read the words. He reached for the phone, pausing. Who, beyond the HOA, was really pulling the strings here? And why did his house feel more like a cage each day? Emma barely slept. Each night she cataloged possible outcomes. Would they lose the house? Would Danny have to change schools again? Did the neighbors think less of them, or were they all living in secret dread? Josh sat up late in his home office, the blue glow of his laptop hardening his jawline. Deep in online threads, he found stories whispering of hidden board conflicts, mismanaged budgets, board members making sweetheart deals with contractors, community money being funneled quietly into maintenance reserves no one could ever see. He started a notebook. Names of contractors, dates from association records, oddities in the monthly budget newsletters. Monica's husband managed the landscaping company that won the annual bid each year. Celeste's cousin ran the pool cleaning crew. Josh's stomach twisted with anxiety and revelation. Sam dropped by, eager to talk even as he glanced over his shoulder before he stepped inside. "I heard what Martin said at the last board meeting. How you're non-compliant," Sam whispered, voice tight. Josh almost asked if Sam wanted to help, but stopped. Sam looked hunted. He'd clearly already paid his price. When Sam left, Danny asked, "Daddy, are we still going to the 4th of July party?" Before he could answer, a push notification pinged. A public notice. HOA increase annual dues by 20%, retroactive to May 1. The comments section bloomed with outrage. Emma ushered Danny upstairs, her face drawn. Josh's emails to the board got more pointed, requesting breakdown of recent expenditures. Each reply was robotic. "Refer to monthly disclosures. No further commentary at this time." He found recordings of past meetings, chanting the same shallow notes. "For the good of the community." But the actual votes? Those happened in private. The smallest details began to bubble up. Monica's minivan spending nights in the clubhouse parking lot. Celeste's Instagram packed with poolside shots during pool repairs. No receipts, no explanations. Josh's file grew fat with clippings. He started laying out connections on an old corkboard dug from the garage. "Am I losing it?" he muttered to Emma. But as she stared at the web of pins and strings, her doubt faded. "No. If you're right, something here stinks." Sleep came slow, haunted by low voices outside, invisible conversations under the clipped hedges. Then, one afternoon, Danny fetched the mail and brought in a slip of paper. "Notice of hearing on account. Possible foreclosure in 60 days. Emma burst into tears. Josh sat at the kitchen table, numb. "Someone's got to stop this," he whispered. A vow, more than a hope. But he knew, deep in his marrow, that taking on the board would mean making enemies out of almost everyone around them, and that maybe the ugliest secrets were still hidden in the dark. Josh started recording everything. He strapped a GoPro to his car's dash, set up an old phone in the window facing the street, and kept the voice memo app running during every call. Emma thought he was going overboard, but after seeing board members pull off whenever they spotted Josh outside, she reconsidered. Late at night, Josh heard his email ping. Delinquency notice imminent. Further action without payment. They were relentless. He hired a lawyer for a consult. The man, gray-templed and weary, read the file and said quietly, "They fight dirty. Your only leverage is documentation and daylight. You need people to care." A plan started to form. At the next HOA meeting, Josh brought a slim blue folder, clipped, dated, indexed. During open comments, he handed out copies. "Here are spending breakdowns, board connections, documented violations that don't match your own bylaws. If we're all getting fined, shouldn't we know why our money keeps vanishing?" Gasps and murmurs swept the room. Peggy, the battle axe from Sunrise, flickered her gaze between Josh and Martin, suspicious. Martin's face set, voice chilled. "You have no standing to disrupt these meetings with personal grievances. This isn't how we do business." But some nodded along. Sam, from the back, mouthed, "Yes." Josh smiled, letting silence bloom. Celeste gathered up her papers, eyes cold. Josh realized suddenly that beneath the civility there was anger, fear, and something like desperation. The meeting collapsed in whispers. On the way out, Monica cornered Josh by the door. "You're making enemies you can't afford, Mr. Fleming. People like it here. They like consistency. If you want to live peacefully, you should stop." Josh didn't flinch. "I don't want to live afraid or pay for someone else's backroom deals." She leaned in, voice slick. "This isn't a movie. Sometimes the bad guys win." That night, Josh's car tires were slashed. A note, "Stop, or it gets worse." Josh pressed a hand to the fender, heart a sledgehammer. He looked up, eyes scanning for that camera glinting in the night, wondering who was really watching him and how far they'd go to squash a little rebellion. The next week spun into chaos. Josh filed a police report about his slashed tires, but an officer shrugged. "No witnesses, Mr. Fleming. Sorry." The HOA denied knowledge. Neighbors stood on sidewalks, whispering in nervous pairs, eyes always darting away. One night, Danny woke crying. She'd seen a face at her window, a pale blur that vanished in the dark. Emma's nerves frayed. She jumped at every creak, insisted on locking every window and door, even the garage. Stories from other residents trickled in, phoned tips from hidden numbers, appeals left as anonymous Facebook comments. One claimed Martin used HOA funds for an outdoor kitchen at his house. Another swore the board forced out residents by stacking fines, flipping foreclosed homes to friends at cut rates. Josh started a spreadsheet to track it all. He sent a bulk email to the neighborhood. "If you've faced questionable fines, please contact me. Let's see if we're alone." Replies came slow, but real. Parents, older couples, new arrivals, all with eerily similar stories. Warnings, fines, gradual escalation, then threats. "I left before it ruined me," wrote one. The board responded, a harsh, legalistic letter. "Cease and desist. Unauthorized mass communication constitutes harassment. Failure to comply will result in further action." Josh's lawyer, tired but hopeful, suggested a bigger audience. "You need pressure," he said, "beyond the HOA. Call the local paper. Make noise." Josh hesitated. Going public could make life hell. Was he putting Danny in danger? Was this fight worth it? Emma looked at the mountain of slips, their depleted savings, then the spark in Josh's eyes. "Do it," she said, loud and bright. "Maybe then someone will notice." He drafted a statement, sent records to a neighborhood blog, included the paper trail of threats and fines. He CC'd local media. At the next HOA meeting, Martin's smile was brittle. Cameras swung their direction. The battle lines broadened that night. Josh posted on community boards. His inbox blew up, both support and threats. A new message slithered through, unsigned. "We know where your daughter goes to school. Don't make this worse." Josh's hands trembled as he read the words. He called the police, documented it all. But he knew, suddenly, the stakes had changed. He wondered if he'd gone too far, or not nearly far enough. Within days, Beacon Ridge's dirty laundry aired everywhere. Bloggers picked up the story. "Oh hey hell in suburbia." Then the newspaper called. Local TV trucks parked outside, cameras eyeing every angle. Reporters pinged Josh hourly. Neighbors, nervous but curious, watched the media circus grow. Some waved in solidarity, others glared, terrified their own mess might soon turn public. Martin issued slick statements. No comment on ongoing legal matters. The board stands united against misinformation. Monica and Celeste huddled together, shunning questions. Emma fielded calls from her boss, worried about all this negative attention. At school, a PTA mom asked Danny if her daddy was in trouble. Josh's impulse was to storm out, but he forced a smile instead. Some neighbors asked if he'd consider running for the board. Others avoided eye contact entirely, as though Josh had contracted something contagious. And still, violation warnings came, more frequent, more ridiculous. Bike left near garage, $25, 0 cents. Unapproved wind chime, $75, 0 cents. Fines piled up, pure retaliation. Josh stared out his window into a rotating sea of media vans, wondering, who gets to define normal? Who's really holding power? Late one night, a manila envelope appeared on the porch. Inside, minutes from past private board meetings, copied emails, bank transfers, scribbled notes about problem residents, plans for foreclosure. No sender, only a sticky note. You're right, but be careful, they do worse. Josh spread out the records, connecting dots. Over years, the board had engineered dozens of foreclosures, bought out homes cheaply, split brokers' fees, intimidation, bogus fines, secret budgets, all there, in black and white. He called his lawyer, breathing hard. The evidence is gold, the lawyer said. But they'll fight brutal now, protect your family. Josh's hands shook with adrenaline. He started drafting a formal complaint for the county and a press packet for the most aggressive reporter. Danny emerged, wiping sleep from her eyes. Daddy, are we safe now? Josh knelt, heart torn. He promised safety, but in truth, he could only hope. Unseen, an SUV idled 2 houses away, headlights guttering behind drawn curtains. And the next morning, the front door lock stuck. Somehow, it had been jammed with glue overnight. Josh realized the walls of this battle weren't only legal. Someone, or many, wanted him scared enough to leave. With daylight, tension boiled over. Josh filed the private board documents with the county. County investigators called, promising an audit. The media coverage swelled. Words like corruption and kickbacks splashed through headlines. Residents began organizing. An emergency town hall, unofficial, formed in the park's shadow. At least 40 people showed, rumbling angry about constant fines. Josh handed out files, encouraged witnesses. Neighbors, once frozen and silent, found their courage in numbers. Testimonies poured forth. Bullied retirees, young couples priced out, families forced to find rentals. Some recounted threats, more vicious than Josh had endured. Sam, eyes shining fierce now, stepped up. I'm tired of living scared. I never want my kids to see me roll over again. Yet, not all were allies. A pocket of diehards grumbled about rabble-rousing, warning that exposing the HOA would tank everyone's home value. Whispers of lawsuits hung in the humid air. Martin doubled down, calling emergency board meetings, tasked members with legally binding non-disclosure agreements. Monica released a letter accusing Josh of libel and defamation. Meanwhile, county officials quietly opened a wide-ranging inquiry. Property records, banking statements, all flagged and checked. The tension changed the neighborhood. Front lawns grew shaggier, sidewalks went unswept. Nobody wanted to give the HOA more ammunition or cared to keep up illusions anymore. But the threats kept coming. Dead animals tossed on driveways, hate mail, cars keyed, Josh's email filled with venom. The local paper published an op-ed, "When community becomes a cult." Emma confessed nightmares, jumpy sleep, the thump of footsteps outside at odd hours. Danny clung to both parents, silent and watchful. Yet amid the fear, Josh saw shared hope. Neighbors gathered, doors opening, walls collapsing. They started demanding board elections, budgets, transparency. Then, one stormy night, someone attempted to break Josh's window with a brick. Police responded. Sirens carved the wet dark. A shaken witness said, "I saw a board member's car down the block." Same time. The next day, Sam ran to their door, breathless. "They're going to try expelling you from the neighborhood. A vote, bylaw loophole." Emma crumbled, sobbing on the stairs. But Josh's anger solidified to resolve. He swore, "Let them try. We're not moving, not quietly, not at all." Across the street, house lights snapped on, one by one, as neighbors gathered, watching, waiting for what would come next. The special HOA meeting was scheduled for the following week. Flyers appeared on every front door. Urgent vote. Remove disruptive resident, endangering community peace. The implication was obvious. Josh was the target. On the day of the meeting, residents shuffled into the clubhouse, anxiety coiling tight enough to hum. Josh walked in, flanked by Emma, Sam, and 2 more neighbors. Emma's hand was clammy in his. Danny stayed with a friend. Too much adult volatility for young ears. Reporters had to stay outside, but news crews hovered nearby. A police cruiser idled at the curb, just visible through the window. Martin opened with theatrical calm. This neighborhood has always thrived on order. We must decide, do we preserve harmony or allow chaos to reign? He laid out a lopsided case. Josh was harassing board members, inviting media, undermining property values. Monica stood too, shaking a fistful of emails. But Josh, voice steady, countered, "Order isn't secrecy, and harmony isn't fear. You can call me a troublemaker, but you can't call me wrong. I brought proof. Theft, bullying, threats. This isn't about me. It's about all of us." Murmurs swept the room, some nodding, others shrinking. Sam rose. "I paid $3,000, 0 cents in fines last year, all bogus. They fined my daughter for sidewalk chalk." A chorus of others joined, voices growing brave. Unfair fees, forced home sales, lost retirement savings. Martin's control slipped. His eyes flashed, his smile sharpened. He moved to close the meeting, citing personal attacks, but the room erupted. A neighbor demanded that Martin step down. Someone else called for a vote of no confidence against the whole board. Monica shrieked that outsiders were ruining everything. Martin adjourned hastily, ignoring protocol, and in the chaos, county officials slipped in, quietly collecting statements and copies. Emma squeezed Josh's hand, eyes shimmering with pride and worry. The board stormed out, trailed by a few loyalists. But most stayed, clustering with Josh and their own neighbors, hungry for change they didn't yet know how to make. The all-caps motion to expel Josh fizzled. Outside, cameras captured faces, many frightened, some finally hopeful. Josh knew it wasn't over, not yet. But cracks in the perfect mask of Beacon Ridge had finally, irreversibly begun to show. The aftermath unraveled fast. Within days, county investigators returned, questioning residents, subpoenaing board minutes. Martin, Monica, and Celeste were placed on administrative leave, pending investigation for misuse of funds, intimidation, and fraud. Emergency elections loomed. Neighbors campaigned in earnest, flyers fluttering in mailboxes, candidates suddenly eager to prove honesty. Sam ran for board treasurer. Peggy, the rules stickler, surprised everyone by running for president on a platform of honest transparency. Emma joined a resident oversight committee. For the first time in months, she sounded hopeful during phone calls, discussing budgets, repairs, playground fixes. Still, some wounds ran deeper. Letters arrived anonymously, threatening lawsuits. A dead squirrel appeared in their mailbox. Someone scratched rat into Josh's garage door. The fear lingered. Old habits slow to die. Media attention exploded. Local talk shows weighed in. Are HOAs modern feudal lords? Twitter buzzed with the hashtag Beacon Ridge Scandal. Reporters camped on lawns for reaction shots. Josh's inbox overflowed with sympathetic strangers, people who'd faced their own HOA nightmares, thanking him, sharing horror stories. Support groups took root on Facebook, residents from other neighborhoods eager for the same exposure. The phrase, "sunshine is the best disinfected," trended locally. At a town hall, Emma spoke. "We came here for community and found a machine. We need to make it human again." By week's end, Martin and Monica were arrested. Celeste vanished. No one would admit to knowing where. Danny slept soundly for the first night in months. But as Josh watered the battered hedge, he wondered, was it enough? Had they really undone the rot, or only scraped off the top layer? A thick envelope landed in their mailbox, unmarked. Inside, screenshots of group texts. "He's still not finished. We have older connections." Josh's heart seized. The lines between friend and foe blurred. The fight for their home and their peace was far from over. Transitions swept the neighborhood like a brush fire. With the scandals public, board elections brought record turnout. Sam was elected by a landslide. Peggy, now president, vowed to publish every transaction and minute online. She called for a forensic audit. Shady contracts were canceled. Lawn fines were suspended pending policy reform. Committees were formed for every issue: the park, the pool, the newsletter. Josh offered a board seat, turned it down. "I just want to be a neighbor, not a ruler," he said, though he agreed to lead the new transparency task force. Reporters still hovered, but the story began to shift. Neighbors shared lemonade on porches. Playground sand was delivered. The park, after years of neglect, came alive with children's laughter. Emma, standing at the window, watched a new family move in across the street. She waved, shyly at first, then with real warmth. Still, transition was messy. Old loyalists resisted, spreading rumors online. An anonymous blog popped up, accusing Josh's family of destroying Beacon Ridge's reputation. Someone hacked Sam's email. The nights still throbbed with uncertainty. Josh admitted more than once to Emma, "I thought it would feel like victory, but it's just cautious relief." Neighbors, hands still shaking, confessed their own regret for years of silence. One evening, Danny found a bouquet outside the door. Wildflowers, no tag. Emma smiled. "That's hope." Yet as Josh walked the block, noting the empty house at 318 Crestline, he wondered, had they driven corruption out, or merely forced it to shift shape and burrow deeper? A final newspaper headline called Josh Beacon Ridge's reluctant hero. Emma cut it out, taping it to the fridge, beneath a mess of children's drawings and old violation slips now faded yellow. But late at night, when the wind shifted and the camera on the streetlight flickered, Josh sometimes caught himself scanning the shadows, waiting for another shoe to drop. Because in a place so tightly wound, peace always feels borrowed. And scars, once opened, don't always close. Redeeming Beacon Ridge would take longer than anyone hoped. The new board worked like a team of surgeons, uncovering infection after infection, back-channel deals, secret fines, stolen funds gone for good. Restoring trust came slow. Emma restarted her Saturday book club, inviting old friends, new neighbors. Danny's birthday party, once forbidden by board noise regulations, bloomed loud and jubilant across 3 yards. Josh advocated for residents' rights on TV, testifying in county meetings, advising other neighborhoods facing their own HOA nightmares. Messages poured in, "Thank you, you gave us courage." But some pain was permanent. A few neighbors moved away, unable to forget. Each time, Josh walked Danny to wave goodbye. Hearts heavy, but heads high. The new board, cautious, listed every rule before considering its repeal. Lawn messiness became a badge of pride. Children's artwork graced the park's new fences. The media faded. The hashtag quieted. Yet inside Beacon Ridge, real change stirred. Volunteer squads fixed the broken playground. A stray dog adopted by the park became a local mascot. One spring afternoon, Josh and Emma planted sunflowers around their battered mailbox, letting Danny smear her hands with mud. Across the street, Sam waved. "We made it," he said, voice equal parts disbelief and hope. Maybe, Josh thought, that was all any neighbor could promise. Making it. And making things a little better day by day. But as he locked their door that evening, he hesitated, ears pricked at a sound, a laugh or cry carried on the wind. Some roads circle back on themselves, and not every story has a perfect ending. Sometimes quiet victory is simply staying, refusing to let the worst have the final word. And sometimes, peace comes softly, not as a headline, but as a hug from a child safe in her own home. Yet somewhere, behind old hedges and new alliances, Josh couldn't help wondering what happens the next time power finds a loophole, and would anyone else stand up when it mattered? If this story moves you, share it. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories where justice, courage, and community collide. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment where the little guy stands tall. WTEO, see you in the next one.